Thank you, Daresh, and good afternoon to everyone who have joined in. Welcome to today's webinar, Why HR Analytics is Critical for Modern Day HR Managers, which will lead to the insights to the IIM Lucknow Executive Program in HR Analytics, which is a 6-month program. On behalf of IIM Lucknow and VCNow, we thank you for rendering your valuable time for this information webinar, and we look forward to our quality interactions. As you all know, the HR function up till now was largely seen as a people-oriented, human-related function. However, with the recent developments in the analytics domain, it has become imperative for HR managers to upskill themselves with HR analytics competencies for data-driven decision-making, which is very, very obvious. Knowledge of HR analytics is critical competency for new age HR managers to distinguish themselves and gain career progression opportunities by demonstrating data-driven decisions in HR. And of course, when it comes to analytics learning, as you would know that nothing can match IIM Lucknow, which is considered one amongst the leading institutions for analytics programs across various domains. So IIM Lucknow actually has a lot of programs in analytics, which they are delivering from time to time and pretty successfully. We are extremely glad to have Professor Nishant Uppal and Professor Pavni Kaushiva, who are faculties at IIM Lucknow, and also the program directors of the EPHRA program amidst us, who will address the webinar today. We thank Professor Uppal and Professor Pavni to have made time to address this webinar despite their pretty busy schedule. Let me introduce Professor Nishant Uppal first. Professor Nishant Uppal is on the Faculty of Organization Behavior in the Human Resource Management Group, Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow. His book, Narcissus and Machiavelli, Learning Leadership from Indian Prime Ministers, has attracted vast readership with citations from scholars such as Ramchandra Guha and Shashi Tharoor. His another publication include Duryodhanization, Are the Villains Born, Developed, or Made Up into 2018, Leadership in Organizations 2020, Understanding the Theory and Design of Organizations 2020, and HR Analytics in 2021. These are published by world-renowned publications such as Penguin Random House, Routledge, Routledge UK, Pearson, and Cengage. Additionally, he has published in a number of research papers in several internationally reputed journals. More recently, his research focus area has been in understanding the effects of negative personality traits on work, family, and societal outcomes. Dr. Uppal specializes in the fields of analytics, leadership, change management, organizational structure, and personality. Let me also introduce in short, Professor Pavni Kaushiva. Dr. Pavni Kaushiva is a BTech and PhD, completed her FPN in Organizational Behavior from IIM Calcutta. She is an assistant professor of Human Resource Management at IIM Lucknow. Her current work examines women's experience of re-entering private sector organizations in India after a career break. Her primary research interests are gender and diversity in organizations. Her research has been presented at various international conferences and published in international blind peer-reviewed journals of repute. Without much delay, I would request Professor Uppal and Professor Pavni to address the webinar, post which we will share some details on the EPHRA program framework and then conclude with the Q&A session. Meanwhile, please do post your queries on the chat option, which we will try and address during the Q&A session. Over to Professor Uppal and Professor Pavni.
Professor Nishant, you need to unmute.
Thank you, Pulak, for overly generous and lengthy introduction. I'm sure Professor Pavni deserves, and I do not. But yeah, this is a great platform to talk about a topic which is very close to my research area, as well as these days my heart. Before I introduce the program to the participants today, let me first begin with a quick query. And of course, I assume that those who have joined us on Saturday afternoon, which is a weekend, I'm sure they would have joined willingly and not by the force of Pulak or Mr. Mehta. So if you have joined willingly, I expect that you would participate, at least for the first few queries, and then I'll share with you the program detail. To begin with, I would want all of you, if possible, to Google idiot and then go to the images. Couple of confirmations on the chat box would be sufficient for me that you have done this. So Google idiot and then go to the images and tell me if you find any surprising photographs there. So Moez Kasam says, Vandana also found. Ashish
Donald
found
Trump.
Donald Trump. Thank you so much. We have already embarked on the journey of understanding analytics. How is it possible that world's most powerful nation, at least on some parameters, including drug addiction and teenage crime and others, how come the world's most powerful, one of the most powerful nations, most powerful individual comes on a search of Google named as idiot? This is the complex analytics that we are talking about here. I'm sure many of you must be familiar with the work of Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica that helped many governments to come in power and also helped others to topple the government of some countries. That's the power of analytics we are talking about. And when it comes to HR analytics, we have rather simpler issues to handle. The issues such as we have 99 participants in this meeting today. And if there is a HR person who is supposed to evaluate the degree of enthusiasm of the participants, think about the degree of the kind of parameters that he or she will evolve. For example, Pulak may come up and say that the number of videos on is the indicator of enthusiasm. The second parameter could be the smile on the participants' faces. The third parameter could be that how many people are participating and how much are they participating. See, so long as the first and third parameter is concerned, number of videos on and the number of participation came, that is an absolute number. For example, I may say that there were 7 videos on, so these 7 people are more enthusiastic than the others. Then I would say that there are 3 people who responded to 3 queries, so they are possibly more participative than others. But what about the second parameter, the parameter that says that how much were you smiling? Now there are certain people who are sourpuss but still happy. There are certain people who are lesser happy but still smiling. The people at IIM Lucknow who are the profs. Now what we need to understand is the connection between subjective and objective parameters. How are they created? And what is its impact on the constituents that we are talking about? Say, for example, the popular parameters that the people in HR try to handle is the performance, the degree of engagement, the happiness quotient of the organization. If you notice, again, that when it comes to engagement and happiness quotient, there are subjective parameters. Engagement does not mean, and this has been well researched and thoroughly now acknowledged and accepted, the degree of engagement has nothing to do with the number of hours people spend in the office. See, I personally know, and I hope that I am correct here, that Pulak reports to Mehta. Now, while I know Pulak reports to Mehta, Mehta sits in office till 9 p.m. And does this mean if Pulak also sits in office till 9 p.m., he is more engaged? That's a questionable thought. That's a questionable thought. Therefore, the earlier parameters of paying people on number of hours, the working hours reimbursed in terms of overtime and so on and so forth, are past. Now you can't depend upon these parameters. And therefore, the connection between engagement with number of hours is unfounded and now very difficult to judge. Now, when it comes to performance, When we are talking about lower level employees in the organization, let's say who are supposed to dig holes, you can know that in the morning I asked my subordinates to dig hole of 10-meter deep. And in the evening, I'll see if you have done this 10-meter, you are a performer. So far, we are talking about people who have absolute objective parameters to perform. That's sufficient. But initially, there were 10 workers. I hired 10 more. And then I put one supervisor. On what basis would I judge the performance of the supervisor who is not supposed to dig the hole, who is supposed to, the popular statement, get the things done from others? Then you start to debate that when you hire a leader to handle 10 supervisors, what is that particular people, or what is the parameters of success for these set of people? And then when you talk about leader, you start to wonder how leaders are different from supervisors. All these complexities become more and more difficult to handle for HR people as the organization keep growing. 10 people, 20 people, 10,000 people. And when you have a larger organization, then the questions emerges, do we still remain fluid or do we standardize? The moment you say, because the organization is fairly large, we have set customers, we have certain number of employees who have spent 20 years in the organization, let's go for standardization. The moment you bring in standardization, you need to follow normal distribution. What I'm talking about is bell curve. Is bell curve really good for the performance of the employee? Another questionable thought. There are several questions that come which require the mix of subjective and objective parameter, which also require through a complex process to undergo to give you the desired result. And these results are again subjective and objective. And therefore, the role of HR analytics is to support HR professionals to make decisions which are convincible to as many as people possible. There cannot be a decision that can make everyone equally happy, but that reduces the degree of dissatisfaction to an extent where the conflicts and debates reduce. And that is, in my opinion, is one of the ideas behind having HR analytics as a systematic discipline to study and examine. These are my viewpoints, and of course, we can talk more about it as we progress. I now invite Professor Pavni to share her thoughts on HR analytics and its importance in the market today.
Thank you, Professor Nishant. So you've put it in a very relatable format, I must say. I'm sure the participants are able to grasp the, how should I say this, the importance and actually the detailed thought that goes behind any kind of analysis that is required before we take up a step in any organization. And the greater the size and complexity, the greater the time required and greater the analytical strategies that are needed. Hence the importance of HR analytics. So we are all aware and we come in touch daily with certain forms of data. We are more aware and well versed with certain kinds of data and not so much with others. So for example, the question regarding why Trump comes up right on a Google search of an idiot, or somebody mentioned monkey, we don't really know, and we couldn't have imagined that such an analytical process goes behind and the algorithm that is taken up at the back end. But through HR analytics, the idea is that you come to increase your gamut or your understanding of what all comprises or constitutes data to be processed by HR managers. And then the second part of it, how exactly do we go about doing that, right? So at the level of the individual, at the level of the team, at the level of organization, of course, the think about, the CEOs making decisions. All of this requires analytics. And HR analysis or HR analytics is now being brought into the mainstream business conversations, right, in India and abroad. So I don't have to stress the importance. I assume the emergence of such courses and the take-up of these courses, and even inclusion of these requirements in job profiles these days, goes without saying how much importance is being laid on analytics and data-supported decisions. So yeah, thanks. Those are my
Thank you.
sense.
Indeed, Professor Pavni, you added a very important aspect to the discussion, that when it comes to decision making, it is and its relation to HR, it's not always related to individuals. It's about the departments, it's about the organization per se. And one of the interesting word that you used, which is very close to my personal research as well, which is about the personality of CEO. Now, you see, every organization has its own personality, and there is a CEO who comes with his or her own personality domains. And now these two personalities interact in the organization. And simply speaking, analytics tells you that who is going to win. Is the socialization of the organization will be powerful, and then supersede the individual who is a CEO, or is the CEO who is going to individualize the organization? And interestingly, we have both kinds of examples. Now that we have reached to a discussion where we are talking about CEOs and leaders, once again, let me ask the participants here. Give me on the chat box, if you are there, because that's the way you measure whether you are participating or not. On the chat box, once again, tell me, who is your favorite leader? Just name any leader that comes to your mind. Let me wait for it in the chat box for, let's say, 20 seconds. So my boss will not do. You have to write the name.
I think we already have a handful of names, it seems.
Oh, you see,
variety.
These many responses. We have Obama, we have Modi, we have Steve Jobs, Ratan Tata, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Rakesh Chhabra, my boss. I'm really sure that Rakesh Chhabra will be very happy to emerge along with Ratan Tata, Modi, and Abdul Kalam Azad. Obama, Ratan Tata, Subhash Chandra Bose. By looking at this list, I am certain that Ratan Tata is surely a leader because his name has appeared multiple times. But now I have a question, and I would like to share with you a slide. Why none of you gave these names? Hitler, Aurangzeb, Dhananan, and Khomeini. I don't know how many of you are familiar with these, but Hitler, I'm sure all of you. Aurangzeb is another name. We may feel that he is a villain, but we must also know that he led the whole set of people who worked for him. Similarly, Dhananan is a character from Life of Chanakya or Kautilya, the one who forced Chanakya to tie his ponytail, saying that I'll open it only after I destroy Dhananan. And then Khomeini, a leader who came from France to Iran, and the one who is behind everything that has happened after 79 in the Muslim world. So, for example, the emergence of Taliban, the fundamentalism, and there are certain books written on him. But what my question is, why none of you talked about the villains? And I must also share, I have written books on leadership. I always wonder who is a leader and where do I learn from about leadership? And to my participants here in this forum today, my favorite book from where I learn the leadership is Game of Thrones. And Professor Pavni would not disagree that there are so many leaders there in the book called Game of Thrones, and all their all their seasons. And I prefer to read books over seasons, but I have done both the things here to have a pictorial description of how Tolkien has described the characters in the book. So the definition of the leader is another questionable thought that HR analytics has simplified exemplarily. In the sense, what HR analytics has done, they have created categories of leader, and most broadly, you can say a good or bad leader. It's a controversial, and it's a thought that requires a lot of deliberation before you say that Nishant is a bad leader and Pavni is a good leader, or my boss Chhabra deserves to appear in a chat box. it's a very complex thought. How do I say whether my supervisor is good to me, good to the organization or not? So again, you need to depend upon the creation of parameters, and certain parameters which have emerged, which has started to showing good effects on the subordinates and the organization, include empathetic leadership, servant leadership, and couple of names Professor Pavni can also add. Then the question emerges, if I have to measure, let's say, servant or empathetic leadership, what do I do? I want to know how empathetic Mr. Chhabra is. How do I go about it? And is it necessary that Mr. Chhabra is equally empathetic to all the employees and all the constituents of the organization? Difficult to accept, but fairly possible. So I need to have clearly defined, valid and reliable parameters and their measurements, on the basis of which I can predict as far as possible close to the reality that, yeah, if there is a servant leader, if there is an empathetic leader, the constituents of such leader will perform better than the others. If I have to complex this discussion further, let me share with you another, controversial matter to you. That fine, there are 10 empathetic leaders, or let me use a simpler word, there are 10 sympathetic or empathetic supervisors in my team. I have to promote one of them. Now, on what basis do I select one out of 10 or many, the individual who is going to lead the 10 who were his or her colleague just now? These are some of the issues, again, where you can depend upon the memory, but you will never satisfy the masses as much as you would do if you make, as Professor Pavni said, data-based decisions. Now, these data-based decisions can also create further complexities. So let me go further and describe to you that how analytics support decision-making. Now say I'm trying to match the team with the supervisor. I have a supervisor who I found from outside, and this supervisor has certain tasks to complete. This supervisor also needs certain subordinates. So what kind of subordinates do I find for this supervisor? Do I find like-minded people? Or do I find the people with diverse ideologies? Now there are pros and cons attached to it. If you find like-minded people, it's somebody who I would like to know.
Yeah, 1 minute. I'm just trying to see. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Pula. If I find like-minded people, am I not risking something called groupthink, an ideologically isomorphic stage where the people will think alike? There is no diverse view whatsoever. So do I find the people who are like-minded? Remember, while I have a risk of groupthink, I also have a great opportunity to complete the task quicker. Because everyone thinks alike, you don't have any conflict, which is the risk you have if you find diverse teams. If the people have variety of thoughts, it will take significant time to arrive at a decision. So then you delay the implementation and therefore the outcomes. So this is a nominal issue, whether to find like-minded people or with diverse view. But then how do you decide who is like-minded and who has diverse views? Because on certain opinions or certain forums, I and Professor Pavni and Pulak may agree. On different issues, we may disagree. So how do we create the platform? How do we find that data which tells us that on these forums, there is like-mindedness in these teams, whereas in other forums, there are differences of opinions. And when it comes to difference of opinions, how do you measure to what extent an organization can tolerate the differences of opinion? And these questions are unending. And more importantly, the answers to these questions are highly subjective in nature. And therefore, when a decision is taken where the parameters are subjective, it is going to create a lot and enormous dissatisfaction amongst the constituents, because then the people will say, yahan sab chalta hai. The person is boss's favorite. the person smiles more than Pulak, the person is sycophant, then the opinion of others are driven by their own heuristics and their own biases, their own syndromes, their own paradoxes. And we want to avoid it as far as possible. And therefore, my dear friends, HR analytics comes as a rescue that you take database decisions which are far more convincing than the subjective decisions that probably people had been taking earlier. And hence we have HR analytics as a subject. I once again invite Professor Pavni, she wants to add.
No, I think I will hold on for now. I think we did, this was a brilliant example of leadership. Again, something that is very subjective in the minds of people, right? And to your example, I think a lot of them, a lot of the responses were that they were dictators or they were, controllers, and hence not good leaders. So again, we don't really have our objective parameters of evaluations here, which is where these diverse responses come in. So the emphasis on objective parameters is, of course, that's the crux of HR analytics. Without that, you can't go ahead with looking at the data, right? Apologies for the background noise. So yes, those are, I completely am in agreement with Professor Nishant here for the need of objective parameters. We do get qualitative data as well in HR. If you look at open-ended questions in engagement surveys, or if you look at exit and stay interviews, right, even something regarding CEO's speech that also can be brought in into analytics here. But then again, when we do bring in qualitative data, the analysis is not left up to contextual interpretations. Even there, we do have some parameters based on which we bring the data to an understandable and a more generalizable format, so which can be used for business related decision making. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me have a dialogue, Professor Pavni, and then possibly Pulak, we can invite question and answer. So Professor Pavni and I both are dog lovers. We both have pets, Labradors. Professor Pavni, somebody approached me from somewhere and said that why not do research on the impact on job performance on the basis of whether you have a pet at home or not. Do you think having pet at home enhances stress, or does it relaxes the people?
I think there are a lot more variables to that, but if we have to generalize, I would say on an average, it reduces stress.
Now, as soon as we started talking, there are certain responses in the chat box we would see. And I loved the first response by Priyanka, which said, it depends. Then the issue is, what does it depend upon? And let's together try to explore what are the factors that determine whatever is the outcome variable we are looking for. So let's try to connect, as the statisticians will say, independent and dependent variables using the vast tools available and the complex tools available of analytics. Thank you very much for your audience, and thank you, Pulak, for providing this platform. If there are any queries, we are open for the discussion.
Sure. I think I thank you, Professor Nishant and Professor Pavni. I think the way you introduced the subject, there couldn't have been a better way of introducing how HR analytics, can be used within organizations with real life examples that people can actually empathize with. So I think we'll begin with the question answer session. So if you want to ask questions, please raise your hands and feel free to ask questions. You can also put questions in the chat. There are, a few questions that we had already received when the webinar, had begun also. So one of the questions was that there are so many HR analytics program, right, that are there in the market. And, so how would one kind of decide which program, and what is different and special about the IIM Lucknow HR analytics program?
So I anticipated this question, and therefore I was prepared with the module which we plan to cover. First thing, Mehtaji, I must clarify that while we have a template ready because we are trying to cater to variety of audience, and therefore the template is necessary. We have this template, and these are the topics we are going to cover in this program. And while we are going to cover these topics, I must say that it is highly customizable. So it depends upon the kind of profile which is going to emerge after this webinar and otherwise as well. So depending upon the portfolio of the audience and the trainees, we are going to customize this program. However, more or less, there are a few things which are very commonly required at an elementary level for those who are trying to learn HR analytics for the first time, such as introduction to statistics and introduction to softwares like R, SPSS, and so. So we will do that, which is a common thread across. And what I mentioned as customization is the unique thing of IIM Lucknow. We do not offer which is available everywhere. We offer programs according to the requirement of the participants. And we have been very popular because of this only. Look at, despite webinar fatigue, we have 127 people hearing us. That's a sign that IIM Lucknow stands as a brand, and the brand exists because the audience exists, and the audience exists because we cater to their need. I can't speak more, and the program is available on the website, and as soon as we finalize and shortlist the participants who are going to enroll for this program, according to their needs, we will customize. Not only that, we will also keep customizing as the program will evolve.
Sure. I think thank you so much. I think please refer to me as Darius and not Mehtaji. Some makes me sound
That was
very
a
old.
difficult aspect of Illumes.
Not a problem. So there was a related question that I think you touched upon it briefly, was what are the skills required for HR people to join an HR analytics program? Is there a prerequisite? I mean, considering most HR people don't have, say maths and science background. So is that something that they can cope up with?
Professor Pavni, would you like to address this?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So we do understand that maybe some of the HR professionals may not have a quantitative background or may not be as strong. However, if we do talk about analytics, we need to have our basic statistics in place, which is where we have our statistics 1 and statistics 2 as the first introductory modules in the course itself. So that is to bring everybody up to the same level of understanding, right? Prerequisites, more than anything, to be able to articulate the question that for which you want to do HR analytics, I think is more important than actually simply understanding statistics, because statistics is simply a tool by which you will come to the answer. But if you're not able to articulate the question, so your understanding of HR processes, what are the variables there, if you can delineate them, that I think should be a prerequisite, and I'm sure participants who are aiming for HR analytics are anyway exposed to the HR domain, and that should not be an issue. As for quant, I think we will cover that in the course. Professor Nishant, you want to add to that?
No, I think absolutely you're right that you can see in the module as I'm sharing that we do cover elementary aspect of HR analytics to begin with. But we see we are beginning with statistics. We are not beginning with mathematics. We don't expect our teachers at IIM Lucknow at post-graduation level to talk about 2 + 2, right? So we would definitely begin with elementary statistics, but even elementary statistics require basic understanding of core subjects like mathematics. And I must share this very candidly with you. Any module requires preparation. If you are enthusiastic, if you really want to learn, and if you have the topic available that we are going to discuss as profs in the class, it's essential that you come prepared for it. That's the basic requirement, basic expectations a teacher will have. If you come unprepared and there are other participants who are well versed, you are left out. For no one's else mistake, but just half an hour you could not spare a priority.
Right. I think a very valid point by both faculties, and as a program partner working with IIM Lucknow, we would really recommend that the standard, the requirement is for the 3-hour class, please put in at least 1 hour of reading every day and come prepared to the class, because in any executive education based programs, you will never, appreciate or enjoy an executive education program if you go blank to a class, right? Because here the idea is to help you ignite your thinking and, minds in terms of, contributing within the class and not just waiting to come to a class to seek inputs, right? So I think this is a very important point that professors have kind of shared, and that one should come prepared to the class. There was a question, very nice question, where I think we were talking about various types of data, some qualitative data and quantitative data which can be quantified, and subjective and objective data. There was a very nice question which said that there are times when even quantitative data has biases built in. So, how would one deal with that?
That's a very interesting question. And if you recall, I began with that by asking you, please search idiot. So sometimes, you know the result already, and you try to fit in the data. And this is not something which is novel. People have been doing that. They already have taken the decision. Then they go back to their subordinates and their data analysts that this is the result I have, and I would want you to support it. Technically, this is called harking, hypothesizing after the results are known. But we will not go into the technical aspects of it. But you are right that this may happen. You may find the data to fit in your results. But we as, faculty and experts of HR analytics never suggest that. Because then what's the use of HR analytics? HR analytics is not a tool to rationalize the decision. It is to help people take strategic decisions. If you go other way around, who you are going to make suffer? Eventually you yourself. So this is not the way one should handle. And then now coming to the second aspect of it, quantitative and qualitative. We have Professor Pavni with us, who is expert in qualitative analysis, and she conducts a lot of classes. So I'll invite her to talk about it. But I'll give you my last viewpoint, Mr. Mehta here, for the lack of confidence in pronouncing your name. So
feel free.
You see, quantitative data may also get corrupted because of the lack of expertise of the person who is collecting the data, the lack of research, understanding of research, analysis, and therefore we stand there to help you ensure that you get the data which is useful, which is valid, and which is reliable, so that your results are well within the predictable zone. Professor Pavni may comment on qualitative analysis.
Sure. So, am I just to be on the same page? Am I addressing biases in qualitative analysis?
Qualitative, yeah, qualitative analysis.
Okay. So, right. So when it comes to HR, if we can just focus on the qualitative data available for HR or HR professionals. It depends on number one, first, that you establish your position, as in the person who is analyzing the data. If, say, I am your immediate supervisor and I've taken your exit interview alongside another HR professional and I am the one analyzing, then I will have certain viewpoints when I'm reading your statements and I attach meaning to them, right? So like I said, we cannot analyze qualitative data based on subjective interpretations. We need to have certain parameters on which we are analyzing. Those parameters have to be standardized, if lack for a better word, across any kind of a sample. So if I'm looking at exit interviews, probably I know that there are certain terms that come up, for example, better job or higher education. And if I take it at face value, rather, I should probably support that piece of evidence from other sources of information that maybe I can do a quick industry search and see whether actually competitors are offering better pay and people are jumping ship, right? So even if you look at qualitative analysis, you can do counting words. That is one way of doing it. You can do content analysis based on these are the themes that came up, right? These are points that people want to talk about. That is one way of looking at data. But whatever you do in qualitative analysis, it is always appreciated if you back it up with various sources of the same kind of data. Otherwise, it becomes questionable and it can be called subjective. Like, who looked at this statement and said this is the point that the person is conveying, right? So if it is supported by, say, another group of people in a separate department, then yes, possibly that is a prominent concern for the organization. If that is done in industry 10, that is the second piece of data that is supporting an exit interview statement, right? So we will cover in social media analytics, something related to qualitative techniques, so to say, qualitative analysis techniques. But what I'm talking about here is how do we safeguard against the question of bias in our qualitative analysis, right? And if it comes to quantitative data and bias in that, Professor Nishant has adequately mentioned. There's just one more point that I wanted to add to that is there are certain patterns that keep emerging over and over again, and there are certain issues that organizations are unable to solve even by if they continue collecting the so-called right type of data. That is another way that your results can be biased. So I think somebody mentioned competency analysis or hiring the right kind of talent, right? So there, if your variables in the algorithm are faulty in the first place, then your results will tend to be biased. And there is no force fitting here that is taking place. It is the initial step itself which needs to be broadly thought over in more detail. And that is where your diverse opinions and a broader comprehension of what all variables should have been included in the first place, which I mentioned in the beginning, will help. I hope that covers the point.
Absolutely. I'll just add to what Professor Pavni said. And while she was mentioning a few things about qualitative analysis, an example emerged in my mind and I became desperate to share it with you. There was an interesting research done about the behavior of dwellers of Dharavi in Mumbai. You know, behavior of dwellers of Dharavi is one of the largest slum areas in Asia and possibly in the world. And you want to analyze the behavior of those people. There are various mechanisms you can do that. And I and Professor Pavni both are sufficiently expert to provide a questionnaire to do that. But a researcher came and said, I will dwell with them for a certain number of years, note everything what is happening there, and then possibly give my opinions in form of a research paper. Now, this is pretty impressive that the fellow is not taking any standardized questionnaire, does not depend upon the data, and rather says, I'll spend 3 years there. You would be surprised to know this paper did not get any publication for at least 6 years. And then finally, this person had to publish a book published by himself. The problem was that when you stay there for 3 years, you have your own personal opinions, which has biased the entire research. And therefore, the entire labor of 3 years and the writing, I'll not say has gone to waste, but did not reach to expected fruition. So it's undeniable that individual biases, human errors are essential or rather eminent in all kinds of researches. And that is what analytics do to reduce. And Pulak, there is some candidate by the name Firoz Khan, who has objected in the chat box to, you are wrong, ma'am. The data supporting is the base of any decision. I am surprised that how is ma'am or sir wrong, because that is what we have been saying from the beginning. You know, we constantly keep saying that there has to be data-based decision making, without which the decisions will have subjectivity that is going to cause immense dissatisfaction, the dissatisfaction which is going to reflect in the individual performance and therefore the organizational performance as well. And thus, the objectivity associated with the whole spectrum of analytics is a solution to the dissatisfaction at organizational level and at individual level.
Right. Okay, thank you. I think very comprehensive answer to this whole thing from both objectives, qualitative and quantitative. So there's a question from Tanya Vyas, which says that, what change can I expect for this program to bring into me as an HR professional? What is the outcome that I can see for myself after completing the course?
that's a very subjective question, Mr. Mehta, because I need to know who is the name? Tanya Vyas, right?
Tanya
I
Vyas,
need to know Tanya currently, and then I have to know Tanya after the program. So you say before and after analysis. So how do I know who Tanya is? So I'll have to do analysis of Tanya to know where she stands now, and then possibly do another analysis of what Tanya would be. But to answer it more simplistically, Tanya, that we have been running this program for the lack of understanding and the lack of knowledge of your profile. I'm just making certain, preconceived judgments. When we shortlist the people for a program like these, we already, because have conducted the program, we know who are the people most suitable for this program. We are not going to accept every application that will come through. So when we select the people, we ensure that there is a match between their requirement and the course module. Rejection does not mean that you are not eligible for the program or you are not a good person. Rejection means your requirements are not fitting with the course module. You have a course module, we have a profile, and we already know what is your requirement. And therefore, if I have to explain it to you in the words of a director of a program, we know your requirement and we will ensure that you reach there. What I can assure you on behalf of Professor Pavni, on behalf of Pulak and Mehta, and also others at IIM, that you would have clear understanding of the usage of analytics and how you can make more objective decisions in HR domain using the tools that we will train you about. So we will guide you about how to create the parameters, how to validate them, how to make them reliable. We would help you to understand how to use the data collected using that parameter, using various softwares like SPSS or R, or I don't know what all platforms we would have available depending upon how Pulak shapes the entire course. And then we will help you making the right kind of choices, not only as HR professional, but also as a person. What kind of career choices you should have, what kind of fitment you should have, and so on and so forth. I think that's the best, Mehtaji, I could answer.
I think, no, thank you. So, yes, I mean, I think one of the other things that we do with candidates while we are counseling is also to share that this is not a technical program on analytics. This is a business program and more so in the domain of HR, right? And the objective of a program like this is to help HR managers, make effective and correct decisions on the basis of information that is available, help improve their skills in this area, right? And, so that is, I think, a common ground expectation that everybody can have, like what Professor, Nishant said, that once you do this program,
or rather we would say much more conscious and informed decision, so the stage from where you are, you take, a situational, contextual decision, and vis-a-vis your learning on analytics, that takes you to the next level to take much more informed decisions, so your likelihood of analyzing and reaching to the level that you desire is, the likelihood of failure is very less. So I think that is what, finally gets us an achievement.
So there is a question in terms of, what are the software requirements for this program? I think Professor Nishant did share that, depending upon the profile, we will be talking about that. That will come in. Will people from abroad, a person who is working overseas, be able to participate in this program? Yes, as long as you will be making sure that you will come for the campus if the COVID situation is fine, and as long as you will be able to take exams in a proper environment. The program is offered in an online mode, Padma, right?
I think we have to take them through the basic structure of the program so that everybody is in line.
Yeah. So Professor Nishant, shall we do that so that we can take them through the basic structure of the program? So most of the questions will get answered with that. Pulak, I think why don't you do that?
I'll just respond to this, Mehtaji, just add to what you have said about the usage of software.
Right.
So to very candidly sharing with all the participants here, that there are certain softwares which are paid, there are certain softwares which are freely available, and there are certain softwares we assume that everyone has. So for example, SPSS is chargeable and it comes with a great cost. R is a software which is freely available and that is part of the program. Excel is, we assume, that is with everyone. So you see, for the paid softwares, we cannot guarantee anything because we are not going to buy any software on your behalf. Second, the softwares which are free, we are definitely going to use some of them in our analytics program. And we assume that all of you have basic understanding of Excel.
I think that's really good enough. Yeah. So should we let Pulak, share the details, or Professor Nishant, do you want to continue and finish off some of the Q&A and then proceed ahead?
I'm here, Mehtaji, for another 6-7 minutes. I think.
So
Professor
let us,
Pavni
complete the Q&A then. That will be much
so
better.
that we
then
can now disembark
right.
from this meeting.
Yeah, right. If anybody wants to ask a question, you can also raise your hand and kind of unmute and ask if there's anything specific. I mean, I have been able to go through most of them. Yeah, go ahead.
Sherry wants to ask.
Hi, my name is Sherry Singh, and I have about 10+ years of experience into the recruitment and talent acquisition domain. So I just wanted to understand that, how is this program going to be beneficial for a professional, coming from the recruitment background, or how is it going to, help me in my career progression?
I can answer the first part of it, Pulak. I doubt I have the capability to answer the second part. Your career progression, Ms. Singh, is dependent on several factors which are beyond any professor of any institution, which is covering only a limited duration program. But to answer you the first part of your question, that you have been into recruitment for the last 10 years, and you would have used certain tools to select or reject the people. Now, when it comes to a program like this, Ms. Singh, what we do is we use robust and valid tools, and of course we train you on those, so that your decision, so for example, if you have taken 100 people on board, we will ensure through robust training program that these 100 people are fitting the best for the incumbency they have gone for. For example, there is a platform by the name ONET. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this, but I invite you to go through it. It's a very popular tool available in US, which produces a report, of course, on a cost of $112 or $113 per report or something, which tells you, after you provide all the details about your thought processes, about your career interest, about your capabilities, about your personality, after providing all the details, you would be surprised to know, Ms. Singh, that it gives you an outcome as objective as that you should be Nishant to pull a professor at IIM Lucknow. So that kind of job person fit should be an outcome in recruitment. You can recruit many people, but do you also ensure that they remain happy and fit in wherever they are? That degree of satisfaction, happiness, and fitness increases when you take a objective decision. And that is what such kind of programs help you in. Yeah. And how would it help you in career progression? Again, I say I am incapable to respond. But yeah, during these 6 months, you are going to meet some very nice people, because we don't select everyone. You're going to network with some fine people. You would have your own alumni network of IIM Lucknow. And IIM Lucknow itself is a brand which opens a lot of doors. That's the best I could answer about your career prospects. But I can ascertain you that after this program, you would take decisions in your recruitment which will be much more satisfactory to your constituents and customers.
Right. I think, absolutely right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Also want to set a perspective with everybody that normally executive education programs from institutes like IIM Lucknow, etc., are done for 3 objectives: personal growth and development, professional growth and development, career, like Professor Nishant said, is an outcome. I mean, the fact that you go through a program, I mean, and like if you put in the right amount of effort and with the right mindset, it will be transformational, which will then result in development of your career objectives also. So we go on.
Before you go further, I
Haji.
would like to immediately respond to a question that has come, and I am morally responsible to respond to this. So the question is, extensive Excel knowledge is must for the program? My answer is no. Even I am not extensively expert in Excel. We all are learning, and together we learn. So elementary, you should be in a position to open Excel, fill in the data, and use the tools available on the screen. That much is good enough.
That's very comforting for everybody. Okay.
Hi,
I think the method we can take one more question.
Yeah,
and I
sure.
think
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Moez here. So I work with a multinational US-based organization based here in Mumbai, Surat. Now in our organization, attrition is in single digits. And whenever I have heard about HR analytics, it's always about recruitment. I mean, doing analysis about, how do you recruit and attrition? In our case, where this is not a concern, so to say, both recruitment and attrition, then how is this program going to help in other aspects, be it succession planning, training and development, or other areas?
Professor Pavni, would you like to?
Professor Pavni,
yes. Yeah. So, okay, Moez. Recruitment is but one part of HR functions, right? And in HR analytics, the way we've designed the course, if you haven't yet gone through the brochure, maybe Mr. Bullock can help you with that. But hiring and talent and attrition is maybe covered in one or two modules. There are other aspects. Now, of course, you can argue that attrition happens because there is poor leadership or disengagement, so on and so forth. But to connect the dots, right, if you argue to that, to be able to say with confidence that it was engagement or it was poor leadership or it was competitors better pay, whatever the reason is for our attrition, that are other modules of HR analytics, which we are covering separately. I hope that answers. If not,
Moez, we'll be sharing. So yeah, Moez, just hold on. We'll be sharing the extensive details about the program, and I mean, rest assured, it covers various aspects and functions of HR where analytics will be used. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just to now, because I and Professor Pavni has to leave.
Yes.
Right. I'll just try to respond to Moez to light him up. You need to have confidence whether single-digit attrition is good for your organization or not. Sometimes higher attrition is far better. So thank you very much, Pulak and Mr. Mehta.
Right.
Now I think we both will have to sign off.
Thank you, Professor Nishant and Professor Pavni. I think it was really very insightful and very exciting. I think you've kind of demystified HR analytics in a story, quiz, and a very easy to understand format. I'm sure people will look forward to joining the program. So you can proceed, Professor Nishant and Professor Pavni. We'll be there. We'll be taking the participants through the program details and answer some of the questions which are not academic in nature. Right. So,
thank you so much, Professor Nishant, Professor Pavni, for your rendering your time today. We look forward to interact once again. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. So I think we'll have Pulak share the details about the program. Pulak, you would want to take it. So that will answer a lot of your program questions, and over and above that, if there are, we will also answer them. Yeah.
I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So I would take you through the the basic framework of the 6 months executive program in HR analytics. What has been the basis of the today's webinar. So this is a purely an online program, live online, which means that you can access the live classes from the comfort of your home or office. You only need to have a multimedia laptop to access the classes. The classes are going to be highly interactive, and it will give you an opportunity to interact with the faculty, ask questions for all over the 6 months. So I will take you through the basic framework of how the program is going to be delivered. So as a snapshot, the program duration is basically of 6 months. The program is commencing from end of November 2021. So another 1.5 months, we are commencing the program very soon. Already, a quantum amount of people have applied. They have been shortlisted, and they have already made it to the program, and they have already paid their first installment, joined the program. So the progressive admission cycle is already going on. So you can be a part of this program if you apply early, by latest by end of September, by end of this, which is the phase 2 cycle, which is nearing completion. The eligibility to apply would be, you need to have either a graduation or a post-graduation with minimum 50% marks. That is the basic essential percentage. And you need to have 2 years of work experience, which is after your graduation, right? So this is going to be the eligibility part to apply. And after you apply, along with the necessary documents, so the application has to be through an online link, which we will share with all the participants today. So as the webinar is over, you will get a mail with the program brochure, information, link, so that you can go through the entire details. And if you wish to apply, you can apply through the link which is provided there, online application, along with your documentation, whatever is required in terms of academics, your experience, and then fill up a statement of purpose also. After you have applied, completed the application, your application will be put forward to the program directors and the institute, and the institute will declare the results, and you will get an offer letter for selection, post which you have to make your first installment payment. The course fee for this program is 1,25,000 plus GST, and this also has a campus module of 2 days. So if the pandemic restrictions are not there, then during the end of the program, you will be invited to the IIM Lucknow campus and stay there for 2 days to pursue your campus engagement. If there are pandemic restrictions, in case out of compulsion the campus is not held, then the campus sessions will be held online itself, owing to the restrictions. But so far, the plan is to have a campus during the end of the program. And this 1,25,000 plus GST can be paid in 3 parts. So it is, the breakup is like 40 plus 40 plus 45. And the interim tenure that you get within each payment cycle is about 1.5 months tentatively. The online sessions will be held on Sundays 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is the normal track of the classes. So you have to log in on the specific time, at the specific time, Indian Standard Time, Sundays 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can log in from wherever you are. Of course, while attending the class, you need not have to travel. You have to be at a stationary location and then attend the classes. Certification, you get the certificate of completion from IIM Lucknow once you successfully complete the program. Unlike any other program, this particular program also has the set of assessments. So there will be, assessments through online exams. There could be quizzes based on the decision of the faculty. And then, once you successfully complete the program, you get the certificate of completion from IIM Lucknow. These are the content which, Professor Uppal had, shared during his, speech. We have about 21 modules which are covered. It starts with the introduction to HR analytics. Then you have the descriptive and predictive analysis, which is part 1 of stats and part 2 of stats. Then you have an introduction to the software art, working with qualitative data. Then you have Excel for analytics. You have dashboarding, basic HR processes, human resource planning, staffing analytics, analytics in manpower planning, training and development analytics, analytics in performance management, engagement analytics, social media analytics, career analytics, leadership analytics, strategic HRM, HR accounting, reporting and valuation, labor relations, HR audit, and comprehensive. There is a final project which is there at the end of the program. So it is a pretty exhaustive kind of a program with, it touches upon every element of analytics from the business angle. Of course, this is not a pure technical program as such. This gives you the blended understanding of technology in terms of analytics usage from the business perspective, because IIM Lucknow is a management institution. So from that management perspective, this particular program is has been planned and being delivered. Just sharing a sample certificate. The certificate would look like this. I thought it would be prudent for you to give you an insight on how the previous batch was. So, although this is a very indicative data, we invite people from all sections of society, all verticals. There is no limitation in terms of industry, but just to share with you how the profile has been earlier, with the objective of the audience, understanding. So the previous batch, we had about the highest contribution by industry in terms of participation was from the ITES industry. We had good amount of participation from banking and financial service sector, from manufacturing, pharma. Then we also had contributions from automobile, consultancy, telecom, beauty, personal care, F&B, logistics, retail, e-commerce, education, entertainment, fashion, fuel and gas, and FMCG as well. The average experience, in terms of the summed average experience had been 8.4 years last time, although it might differ from batch to batch. The highest band of people who had joined the program was from the 5 to 10 years bracket, with good precedence of 1 to 5 years, 10 to 15 years. Even we had, 2 participants in the experience bracket of 20 to 30 years as well. We welcome people from all sections of experience, so that is not a limitation as such in terms of the higher experience pool. By education and profile, in the past batch we had quite a number of people who had graduation and post-graduation. Post-graduation meaning either an MBA or a MSc or MTech. So we had almost about 16 candidates who were with engineering background with a post-graduation. From the plain background, we had the graduation plus post-graduation of 31, and plain graduates 3, and engineering there were 5 candidates. In fact, by the category of designation, although there is a good prudent mix of diversified portfolios, we had about 18 people from the middle management and 15 people from the senior management, and from the general management or from the executive level, we had about 22 people who participated into the program. The very interesting part here is the gender mix. We had a larger amount of female participants in the HR domain. Of course, we also know that there are quite a number of female employees in the HR domain also. So the participation mix was about 55% female and 45% male. I have tried to list down few of the organizations from where the representations have been in terms of people joining individually. So these are the list of companies from where we had a set of people joining in, Ernst & Young, Sony, Indian Oil, Tata Communications, Accenture, Bank of Baroda, Mahindra Logistics, Pine Labs, Indian Oil, Nestle. So I think the list is pretty exhaustive. So these are the representations from the various organizations from wherein we got participants in. You can note down this number right away. Mr. Nafeez, who is our senior counselor, you can get in touch with him in terms of if you have any further queries. His email ID is also mentioned here. But however, after we complete this webinar, you will definitely get a mail communication with the entire details of the program and the other aspects, the contact details, link, and everything. I will stop this share, and yet if you can take a few, questions related to the program front, we are open towards it.
Yeah, I think people had some questions on I think the program fee you've shared, right? Yeah, so that has been covered. Yeah, duration has been covered. Yeah, if anybody has questions, you can, unmute your mic and ask questions.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Yes, Bhavya.
Hi. Can
Go ahead,
somebody
go
hear me?
Myself is
Yes,
Bhavileka,
yes.
so I am.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Hello. Yes. So myself is Bhavileka. I am currently working as a sales professional with 6.9 years of experience. So I'm basically a pharma graduate, and then I wanted to, because as I'm a pharma graduate, the career path have become very narrow for me. So I wanted to, increase my career path, like broaden it in terms of, continuing further. So I am currently doing my MBA from Osmania University in distance education. So I wanted to know, like one of my friend who is an HR expert have suggested me that since I'm interested in HRM, so he suggested me to take HR Analytics program from IIM Lucknow. So that's the reason that I have attended this session. So I just wanted to know whether I would be the right fit or the right candidate to take up this course.
Bhavya, this is a question that we'll have to speak one-on-one. I mean, what we'll do is, you can share your number and we'll have, a one-on-one counseling session with you. What I'd like to request everybody is please don't ask, questions that are pertaining to yourself. I mean, please ask questions that are pertaining, which is a collective knowledge that people would want to have, because we cannot conduct a one-on-one counseling session. We'll do that with you, on a one-on-one note. So your question is noted. We'll contact you. Please leave your number in the chat. We'll have somebody have a word with you on this, right?
Sure, thanks.
Yeah, right. Yes. So any questions overall on the program front, on the delivery or anything like that?
I think there's a question which has been posted on chat, whether there is a loan option available.
Yeah, you could answer that, Sulak.
Yeah, yes, we have a loan option available. We have a tie-up with a company called EduOnes. They would be able to help you out with a loan. So the turnaround time is also less. So, we can share you all the details. In fact, all your numbers and everything are there with us. Shreya, if you can note down the gentleman's name who is seeking a loan, we can also reach out to him and, and extend all support towards the loan option. Yeah, but loans are available. Yes.
Hi, myself is Neha Delhiwala. I just wanted to know that how this course will help to an e-commerce employee.
No, I mean, see, these are questions that, one-on-one, we'll have to work with you on understanding your education qualification, your work experience, your background, your profile domain, what is your objective? Please, I mean, this kind of a question cannot be answered in a webinar. These are one-on-one counseling questions.
No problem.
Please leave your number. Yeah, please leave your number. We'll connect with you. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah.
Good evening. This is RK Sharma here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to ask, do we have to appear for any examination?
You can go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, an examination not for entry into the program. Your, entry into the program will be based on your application and profile evaluation, which will be done by the, program directors looking at your application. But yes, in order to get the certificate, of course, you have to, you will be evaluated from time to time. So it could be in the form of an online exam or a quiz, which the institute will share with you from time to time. But yes, like any other program, professional program, this also has an evaluation mechanism, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, are there any project submissions at the end of the program?
There is a project at the end of the program which you have to submit in the form of an assignment, which the program directors will give you during the end of the program. If you see the curriculum, there is a final project. Yes. Any more questions from anyone? No placement assistance for these programs. These are professional executive programs. It is presumed that you're already working. So the institutions generally don't extend any placement assistance for these programs. But yes, it definitely increases your your chances of growing faster. It definitely increases your chances of being noticed with a special capability building, and of course getting on to the next level of ladder in the existing organization also, because the certification itself from one of India's top 5 institutions would make a lot of difference to your career. That certainly would make a difference.
So there's a question whether there would be assessments. So definitely, I mean, earning a certification from, prestigious institution like an IIM Lucknow will entail, a kind of assessment that would be there. There would be multiple formats in which assessment could happen. It could be quizzes, online exams, could be a pen and paper, could be project assignment, depending upon the faculty, depending upon the topic, right? So the whole idea is that you take this seriously academically and you apply your knowledge to whatever you have studied.
But one thing I can tell you, if there are questions related to the past batch performance, I would say that our success ratio in the previous batch has been almost more than 99%.
Yeah.
So there is no need to worry. So yes, the mentors will make sure that you get through with the right learning and the right skills. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a question on, will you be providing sample data during the course because my organization data cannot be used? Of course, you cannot, if you're not able to use your organization data, there are a lot of, websites and portals where you have, mock data available. You can use that for, the HR analysis. The campus fee includes the boarding and lodging, but travel is on your own account, right? So there are not too many other questions, then we could call it a day. Look.
Yes, I think, yes, thank you all for joining in today. And I think I'm sure you would have gained some insights from the webinar. The objective was to, get you an perspective understanding of why HR analytics is becoming critical by the day. And, till the time you are well acquainted with the HR analytics domain, you will be left far behind as a HR professional. And to enhance your competency, be at a level playing field within the market, and to avoid competition, I think this is something which is very, very inevitable. I only wish that all of you go back and assess the program and come back to us in case you are willing to apply. Our counselors are there to counsel you. If you need any special advice or counseling, I had shared the number. I will share it once again for the final time. And thank you so much for joining in, and have a nice weekend.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for your time. We look forward to you joining the program.